So that's actually a great question that I get a lot, actually. And I really realized after going through the process of my own healing that I wanted to do something to help other people while they're going through their process. So I decided to become a life coach. So after um, after I started writing my book, I'm like, okay, what else can I do? And it's actually an opportunity to talk to a lot of different people and help them
Mhm.
with things that they are having difficulties with. It could be something as small as, they can't make a decision about whether or not they should take this promotion across the country. And they need someone to process that out with them and weigh out the pros and the cons. It could be you're going through a really big life change, like a divorce or death, and you need someone to help you grieve and process. One thing I want to say about life coaching is it's not therapy. I don't want anyone to think that it's therapy. It's not. Life coaching is very much surface level. What is going on in the present, and how can we get to where you need to be right now? We don't dig into the past or get into childhood trauma per se. Um, I will, ask about the background, and if they want to share that, they can, because that would actually give me a little bit more insight as to what is causing them to be held back from the things that they're held back from. Coaching, I have a soft spot, a very, very soft spot for survivors, but I will work with anyone and not just survivors. But I want survivors to know that there's a place or a person that they can come to that will understand those things if they're not comfortable going to anyone else because of that. So it's something that I'm very proud of, and I'm excited to continue. The thing about life coaching is there really isn't any regulation to it. You don't have to have a certain license to be a life coach. There are certifications that you have to get, um, which makes it accessible to anyone who thinks that they want to help other people. Um, but I think that a lot of people think they see life coaching as, okay, this is going to be someone in my life that's going to be telling me what to do. I'm not going to be able to make up my own decisions. And it's actually the exact opposite. It's all about this
Mhm.
person making their own decisions and me just kind of helping them figure out what it is that they really want to do. Thing about life coaching is, I mean, I have custom programs that I put together, based on what the person needs,
Mhm.
and it could be anything from someone who just needs a couple of sessions, like I said, to make that big decision, so it
Right.
may only be 2 or 3 sessions. Or you may be someone who is going through, like I said before, the big life change, and you may need 6 or 8 sessions. And our sessions are typically once a week, for an hour. So it would be for 6 to 8 weeks. But then we go up all the way up to a year. And honestly, if someone is still with me at that point of 1 year, I actually would then refer them to a therapist that could dig into what might be still holding them back, because I know what my limitations are. And
Mhm.
so I will never just keep seeing someone just because they're paying me to see them, or that's no,
Right.
that I'm helping them, and that they're growing and they're progressing in the process. And if they're
Mhm.
not, then there's something deeper that needs to be dealt with. Been certified since 2019. Certified since
Okay.
2019. And it's something that I don't advertise a lot about. I'm not, because I wanted to start slow with just a few clients. I didn't want to get overwhelmed. But now I'm ready to really open up my calendar and really start doing it on a more constant and consistent basis, where I have clients all throughout the year, and it's a steady thing.
Mhm.
So I'm doing my third episode tomorrow.
Oh, that's so exciting. I hope it
Yes.
goes well.
Thank you. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for it. And I'm having my first live guest. So that's going to be
Ooh.
very interesting. And we'll see how that goes. Oh, no, nothing. Before I was in the hospitality industry and sales and um, completely different. I mean, still dealing with people and, that customer service and, you know, the personal one-on-one, but definitely different than being a self-employed life coach and an author, traveling around and attending book festivals and speaking at book festivals, which I'm very excited about, having the opportunity to do that very soon. Um, I have a couple of book festivals lined up that I'm waiting to see if I'm selected to speak. So that could be pretty
Ooh.
amazing. Yeah. So we'll see about that because you know what my mission is, my goal. I know we're talking about life coaching and I want to talk about that because that's very important. Um, but really the mission is to get the word out about child sexual abuse and
Right,
awareness
right.
and
Absolutely.
prevention. And there's this amazing, amazing, amazing organization that I have to tell you about. And this organization is really for anyone who has kids or anyone who knows someone who has kids or anybody who has kids anywhere in their circle. Um, laurenskids.org. That's LaurenSkids.org. Founded by Lauren Book, who is a survivor, and her mission is um, uh, to spread awareness and prevention through education. And it just has so much invaluable information, from statistics that you could look up to prevention tips to grooming techniques. Like, you need to know that predators have techniques that they use to get to your child.
Hmm.
um, you need to know these things, and Lauren's Kids provides all of that information. And actually 10% of the proceeds of my book sales is being donated to Lawrence Kids every year. That's how much I believe in this organization. And as a result, I've kind of taken it upon myself to take their teaching, and I'm using that when I'm spreading my message of prevention and ways um, to prevent this from happening to other children. I don't know if last time we really went into the statistics of it, um, but 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 5 boys will be abused before their 18th birthday. 90% of those kids that are abused before their 18th birthday know, love, and trust their abuser. And this is where you get into the grooming techniques, because you think, well, we're supposed to leave the kids with the people that we trust the most, right? And which is true, yes,
Hmm.
but you also have to be careful who you trust and be careful of trusting the wrong people, because even the people that you think you can trust, statistics say they're the ones that are most likely going to harm your child. And the thing about these techniques, they're so basic. They're so basic. It's nothing surprising. It's
Hmm.
nothing really, oh, really? I would have never thought of that. Everything you say, you're like, oh, that makes total sense.
Right.
The first thing to understand about predators is that they gain the trust of the parents before they gain access to their children. So I want you to think about people in your circle. Okay. As I'm talking, I want you to think about everyone in your circle and think about this. Is there anyone in your circle that just seems to make friends with kids instead of adults? They just like to hang out with kids. They're very interested in what the kids are doing. And they spend most of their time around kids instead of adults. Um, these people typically um, are isolate, kind of loners. Um, you won't find them in groups with adults, but you'll always find them, peering over the children. Um, Another way that predators gain access and trust is by finding um, mutual things they like to do, such as music, video games, sports. You know, be on alert for any adults who all of a sudden like to play video games with your child, or they want to take them to concerts, or they want to, have them over, sleep over to do video games all night. If an adult ever wants to be alone with your child, you need to ask yourself why.
Mm-hmm.
Because in these moments, when the predators are getting to know the child and they're kind of getting to know what their interests are, they use these opportunities to then try to put a wedge between the child and the parent. But see, they've already gotten the parents' trust that the kid can go play video games, he can go there overnight. So now they got what they needed. So now they
Mm-hmm.
have to work on their victim. And they may say, start telling the child that they understand them even more than their parents do. You know, that adult becomes the confidant, which means secret keeping, which means talking one on one, and it just is a breeding ground for grooming to happen. And I have to tell you that if a predator gets a child alone, statistics say that child will be abused. If he gets them alone, they will abuse because that's their opportunity. Do what they really want to do. You also want to be on alert for anyone in your circle who may be really affectionate with your child, especially in front of you. Now, I say this, okay? And I want
Mm-hmm.
you to hear predators will do this in front of the parents. So the child thinks that it's okay that they are touching them. And that could be arm, around their shoulder. It could be always hugging them or tousling their hair or, you know, any type of physical contact. They are testing
Yep.
boundaries. They're testing boundaries. So you want to be on the lookout for that. And also pay attention to your child. If an adult approaches them and they, want to get away or they're not comfortable, or pay attention to that, because kids have intuition just as adults do. Kids can sense when something or someone is just icky, right? Just something just
Mm-hmm.
doesn't seem right. So pay attention to those signs from your kid when they're around people. If someone is buying your child gifts, or if they are just very giving and generous and will give money to the parents for whatever they need. Oh, you ever need anything? You come to me. It's these people that it's like they, they're a parasite, and they find a way to get into every part of your life. They want to become the parent's confidant. They want to be there for the parents, so the parents never suspect, how could this guy ever do anything wrong? They're so nice, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had a situation, a family member told me that someone that they knew, um, their child, a friend or someone in their circle, whenever they were around, would always follow the kid around, and if the kid shoe came untied, they'd run over and tie the shoe, or if they needed their hair brushed, he'd brush their hair. And Any kind of attention like that, odd attention, it's the parents' job to tie their kids' shoes if they need help. It's the parents' job to, brush the kids' hair. These are all a predator's way of desensitizing these kids to their touch. Of course, we tickle our babies, we tickle our kids if we want to play. Be aware of adults that like to tickle your children, because tickling can lead to touching and, oh, that was an accident. And I keep saying he, but we
Mhm.
have to be, there are women abusers too. I know I keep
Right,
saying he,
absolutely.
and I have to stop doing that. Women have gotten away with abusing boys for many, many years,
Mhm.
because abusers can be women. And that's what makes it difficult, because women are supposed to be
Mhm.
the caregivers. They're supposed to,
Mhm.
take care of the kids. Of course, if there's women around, you leave your kids with the women, because it's a woman and it's a woman, right?
Yeah.
But again, you need to know the women in your life. You need to know what their history is. You need to know, do they tend to date younger people? Do they brag about um, how grown up and sexy your boy is getting, or any type of sexualization like that? Also, if the kid hears them sexualizing them in front of the parents must be okay with it then. So if they say it to me when we're alone, it's no big deal. Those are just some of the main things that come up at the top of my head when I'm thinking about these grooming techniques. I mean, they're very sly, these perpetrators. They're
Oh,
very
yes.
manipulative. Um, but I have to tell you that our children, when they're not comfortable, they will let us know. They will let us
Mhm.
know. And we have to be listening for that. And this is where I go back to prevention for child sexual abuse begins in the home. And this is why I say from the beginning, children should not be forced to show affection to anyone, especially family members. Especially, and I say people are kind of thrown off when I say especially family members. And it's not because, you know, it's all family members are going to abuse. It's about teaching the child that their body is their own. And if they're not comfortable, they have the right to say that. They have to own their body. And I think I may have told you last time, for me growing up, it was, if I didn't hug my uncle and everybody in the family when I got to the family event, oh, you're being rude. Go hug your uncle. Oh, he was creepy to me. And this was way before he even did anything to me. But
Mhm.
I didn't think that I could say no because I didn't want to be rude. So we have to teach our kids that it's not being rude to, you know, deny someone affection if we don't want it. You know, Parents just have to get over this thing of, well, what will everybody think if my child, doesn't greet people the proper way? No, you're just telling everybody these are my child's boundaries and I respect them. And
Right.
and that means that they have to respect them too. And so that's why it's so important to start in the home as young as you possibly can. So all kids know that they have the right to say no. They have the right to say no, no matter what. Because the fact is, and I don't even think I've really talked about this that much. I mean, I've talked a lot about prevention. I've talked a lot about, who's getting abused, but I haven't really talked about why it's so important. And it's so important because the negative after effects that survivors suffer from last an entire lifetime. I think that there is a misconception. Children are resilient. Children can bounce back from anything. If they're abused young, they're not even going to remember it happened. And that could not be further from the truth. Yes, children are resilient. We can bounce, children can bounce back from injury, they can bounce back. But when it comes to trauma and sexual abuse or incest, this is a whole other animal, because that abuse affects that child's self-esteem, their understanding of right from wrong, their boundaries are being crossed. They don't know how to put up proper boundaries. Um, and they tend to later on in life act out in promiscuous ways. And I'm not saying promiscuous as in, oh, these whores out there are being promiscuous. I mean promiscuous as in uh, because of their need to feel loved, they will automatically just assume if they feel a certain way about someone, that they must feel the same way. And
Mhm.
survivors will give themselves to others immediately, thinking that, oh no, this person feels the exact same way I do, when in reality, that's not the case at all. Um, this feeling of needing to be loved is an unhealed wound, either from abandonment or just the lack of support from people. Um, but it could really, and something else people don't understand is it's when people grow up and have children of their own. A lot of people say, well, why didn't you think about this before? Why didn't this come up before? Why didn't, and I'm sure there are people that have been criticized for waiting to tell their story or not coming out sooner. I know for me, when my daughters reached the age I was when I was abused, that's when I started going crazy in life. It was, I saw how young and innocent my daughters were, and it
Mhm.
triggered so many emotions. And I was just out looking for affection, from anywhere, because I, I, I all of a sudden felt like everything was my fault. I, you know, I should have told sooner. All of the blame, the self-esteem, everything came back, because what people don't understand is, I think survivors of repeated trauma or survivors who did not receive the support that they deserved at the time, those are the people that don't feel loved. They don't feel like anyone loved them enough to protect them. They don't feel like anyone loved them enough to care, to get them therapy. And so as an adult, you're looking for all of that love that you needed as a child. And
Mhm.
what we have to remember is it's difficult, but we will never get that. We will never be able to get that love that we needed at that time from anybody right now. And I think that too many survivors believe that they can, you know, that partner can fix them, a partner can make them feel loved, a partner, because really we know, where does love come from? You have to love yourself, right? You have to love yourself first. And I can tell you, survivors don't love themselves when they're being abused. Survivors don't love themselves when they're dealing with the after effects. Survivors hate themselves. Survivors blame themselves. Survivors harm themselves. And that's why it's so important that we prevent it, because we are preventing these wonderful young children. We're preventing them from reaching their full potential as adults. We are, if we don't protect them, they are starting out with a handicap in life. And it's hard to find a clean slate when you're a
Mhm.
survivor. We can't
Yes.
start over. We have to just be where we are when we are there. If I could turn back time, I'm sure I would, and I would, I tell myself I would do things a lot differently. I wouldn't do this, I wouldn't do that. But the thing is, why beat yourself up over something that you can't change? It's not like I
Mhm.
can now because I want to turn back time, so survivors, I also hope that they don't beat themselves up over things that they can't change, because that's something else that adults do, you know.
Oh,
What I want people to understand is this isn't something that ever goes away. This is something that you grow to accept. You gain self awareness to why you're feeling the things
mhm.
that you're feeling. That's what the healing journey is all about. And it's just continuous. It's continuous. I still have bad days. I still get triggered. I still have days where I don't want to change my clothes. I still have days where I want to self sabotage. And that's
Mhm.
normal. But what I want people to hear is that's normal. That is a normal after effect. All of these things, the promiscuity, the, looking for love in all the wrong places, these are normal things. And I don't want people to think that they're bad or abnormal, because it's actually very normal for their situation.
And Christmas and not
Yeah.
get triggered.
I hope other people hear this. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to go to that Christmas party if that family member is there. You don't have to go to these events if that person is there. And I think so many people feel obligated that they have to be the strong one, quote unquote, by going to these events because, to show that they're quote unquote over it. But you know what? No, you don't have to do that. You don't. And that could be the first boundary that you set for yourself. I will no longer attend any events where that person is going to be there. And the thing is, and you can do it without even making it seem like it's about that person. It's, oh my gosh, I can't believe on that day of all the days, I have
Mhm.
every appointment in the book, you know, on that particular day. Oh gosh, I wish I could make it. But, so you don't have to be mean about it or rude about it, or just you're setting your boundaries. You don't want to go, and that's okay. And you
Right.
don't, and you're not obligated to give them a reason why.
Right.
And the sad thing about it is, whether you're harmed by family member or anyone else, not having support is hard. Not being believed is hard. Not the fact that the family members still accept this person knowing what they did to you. That's what hurts the most. And
Mhm.
I have to tell you, that is why most people, if it happens to them again later in life, they don't report it. They don't
Mhm.
report it because they're like, well, what's the point? Nobody's going to believe me. It leads to self blame and guilt and shame, embarrassment, and
Before you know it,
exactly. And the reason we don't want to get them in trouble is because we realize by telling, it's not really getting them in trouble, it's getting ourselves in trouble. So it has nothing
yes.
about them. It's about getting ourselves in trouble because of the way that we were treated before, that we feel like it was our fault. We could have prevented it. We shouldn't have been there. We shouldn't have worn that. We should have left as
Mhm.
soon. We shouldn't have gone alone. We shouldn't have gone to that party. We shouldn't have been drinking. We shouldn't have been dancing, in a sexual
Right.
way. We shouldn't have been walking down the street late at night or running,
Mhm.
jogging.
Mhm.
Everything is our fault. It seems like, most of my abusers were drunk, and that was always used as a justification. Oh, they were drunk, but people
Mhm.
don't realize when people are drunk, they're numbing something. They're trying to get away from something that is hurting them. not everyone who is, an alcoholic or addicted to drugs doesn't mean that they were molested as a child or anything
Right,
like
right.
that. But they're drinking for a reason. It wasn't, maybe they weren't molested, but maybe they were physically abused or maybe
Or
verbally
verbally
abused or
abused.
emotionally
Mhm.
abused. And the thing is that these abusers, whether they're drunk, sober, whatever, the thing is that people have to understand is that this kind of behavior is highly repetitive behavior.
Yes.
This isn't a one-time thing. These people
Mhm.
don't do this one time. I mean, it could be a compulsion for some
Mhm.
people. How do we prevent them from acting on those urges? How do we heal that? That's what I want to get to. And
Mhm.
is because for many years in our society, for whatever reason, boys are taught that they're manly if they get girls. They're, the younger they are, that they lose their virgin, the manlier they are. Um, my podcast is on Fireside, which you do need an iPhone or Apple to access the Fireside app. However, it is also simulcast on Facebook every Wednesday at 7 p.m. And it's where we talk all things childhood trauma with particular interest in sexual abuse and incest. And we welcome guests on. It's a live interactive platform, which is really exciting. So people can come in and request to be on the stage and give their opinions and, really be part of the show. So you can find me on Facebook through Yvonne Sandomir, just my name. And Fireside is also Yvonne Sandomir. And maybe you'll be able to put maybe some links or something in one of your
Yes, absolutely.
posts. But of course, there's more information at my website, www.theinvisiblegirlmemoir.com. Yeah, any questions, they can reach out to me through email, Facebook, chat, whatever. But yeah, everybody come be a part of the conversation. It's going to be a good one.